They said you were the best in the parsec.
Welcome to
Parsec Passion, a podcast about The Mandalorian. We're talking today, episode 6 of season 1, The Prisoner. Spoilers for everything galore. My name's Bubba, and with me is somebody who it takes 2 blast doors to take down. It's Catfish. Catfish, how you doing?
I'm feeling strong. I only had 1 blast door I dealt with today, so I'm waiting for the other one. I'm ready.
Let's do this. Let's talk Mando episode 6. Catfish, what is your ranking out of 10 for The Prisoner?
Well, this was the most difficulty I had. The whole episode was deciding between double S's and double F's. I couldn't come down in the middle on it. So I'm going to give it 8, what I like to call shoulder shooters.
Okay.
Also known as 8 double F's for force fake outs.
Oh, way to go, baby Yoda. Baby Yoda, who's a tween named Yoda, as popular as Fetch.
He's going to start thinking he can do whatever he wants now. He's like, I put my hand out, somebody gets blasted through the center of the chest.
That's a pretty good ranking, so it sounds like you're back on board. You're ready to follow Mando into more side quests.
I was a little at the beginning. I was like, okay, yep, another side quest. And then it became we're putting together a team. And then he was the getaway driver. And I thought for a second, is this going to be a sequel to the movie Baby Driver? Child Driver? But then he's not even the driver. I enjoyed it even though there were a couple issues I had with it. I mean, the team was so just blatantly horrible. You knew it was going to be backstabby the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's got to take him down. I'm sorry. I mean, I know we're like the demon guy, Clancy Brown.
Yeah.
Apparently, when he gets taken down, he doesn't get killed. I mean, I don't know whether he just didn't seem to have the time to okay, now I'm going to put everybody in a cell. There didn't seem to be the time. Also, the fighters at the end, they're like, you know what? This is the place to go. We're going to ignore this one ship that's coming at us. But, oh, look, now this ship, that clearly must be a dangerous ship.
Right. Well, this ship coming right at us, but it's not exactly near where the tracking beam was. All right, everybody, let it go. It must be fine.
Let it go. All right, so that's me, Bubba. What about you? What was your ranking for this episode?
Well, I'm going to call this 8, what I like to call double I's out of 10.
Double I's?
Incorrect insults? And what I mean by that is 8 out of 10. I really like this episode. I'll explain more in a minute. But there were some incorrect insults in this. We had the words wise ass said in the Star Wars universe. Egghead said in the Star Wars universe. What happened to scruffy looking nerf herders? What happened to some insults from far, far away? These were like earthly insults. I did kind of enjoy them both times, but both times as I enjoyed them, I was like, that's not right. George Lucas, strike this down.
That is a very, very interesting point there, Bubba, that they can use different words that we don't know, right? Like Battlestar Galactica did, to do some heavy-duty insults, but instead they take some of our colloquialisms, easy for you to say.
I'm not going to try.
That are in a very narrow band. So that's an interesting point.
8 out of 10, so I subtract 1 point for it being another side quest. Get on with the story. That's the kind of show I happen to love. But if you're going to give me a side quest, make it fun. Alan Sepinwall, and he said this about last week's episode, which I didn't enjoy quite as much. He said that people were complaining that The Mandalorian occasionally is a glorified episode of Xena Warrior Princess. And he said that one of the things that these complaints seem to miss is that Xena and shows like it were fun. When the good version of these shows, there were episodes of Xena that were like fun. This is fun. And he said it's okay for a show to aim to be fun. This week, I really, really enjoyed the fun. I talk about all the time about how this show is so predictable. As soon as this starts, you know they're going to backstab him. You know he's going to get away. You know he's never going to get killed. Baby Yoda can't get killed in this specific episode. So if everything's predictable like that, how does it engage an audience? It engages an audience in the thing I was just talking about. Okay, Mando's battling Berg. this big alien, and the type of alien he is known as, wait for it, the type of alien he's known for is Devaronian. Looks like a devil with the two horns, and we saw one of those in the cantina back in the original Star Wars A New Hope. And so he's fighting it, and then he throws a knife and shuts the door on him. And because it's so quick, it's kind of fun, but we haven't seen somebody killed with a door before on this show. And so you think, okay, that's one thing. But then suddenly, Berg starts standing up. He's lifting a blast door. He survived it. That's incredible. And you're like, oh my goodness. Then, whoops, here's another shock. There's a second blast door. I loved it. Those are the kind of shocks you need when you're doing familiar tropes like, hey, it's a prison break of the bad guys who are all going to backstab each other. So I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah, and also a bit with him too was Mando's. This is the third time we've had it in the series. This is a new reaction to Mando's fire blaster.
Yeah.
And this reaction is, give me some more.
Heck yeah, good work, Berg. You survived so you can come back at a later date, I assume. All three of them survived so they could come back at a later date. And I actually kind of liked that they survived, because as big as my problems were last week with Toro Calican, I found these silly cartoony sidekicks fun, and I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, I thought it was good. There is a little bit of issue I had with them, but we'll talk about it that later. When we get into the nitty gritty. But for now, we both thought it was kind of a reboundy episode. Mm-hmm. It was also the longest episode so far.
Oh yeah, I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine.
No, I'm hurrah! Give us more episodes.
Heck yeah. Now, Catfish, we are going to get to listeners, your feedback. We had some great feedback to our question last week about how do you watch The Mandalorian, that kind of stuff. But we're going to come up with some new topics this week. This first topic I want to get to, Catfish, before we break up the episode in full, is that we kind of maybe all suspected it, but it's now been confirmed. Pedro Pascal, a.k.a. the voice of The Mandalorian, and I'm saying the voice of The Mandalorian because we know for sure he didn't ever wear the suit in episode 4. Bryce Dallas Howard revealed it in an interview with Vulture. Pedro Pascal, the actor, was in rehearsals for King Lear on Broadway, and so he couldn't do it. So every time you saw the suit, it was either John Wayne, legendary Hollywood actor John Wayne's grandson, Brendan Wayne, or a guy named Lateef Crowder. Catfish, does this affect your enjoyment of The Mandalorian at all, that we can go a whole episode and that isn't Pedro Pascal under the helmet?
Well, it's funny because we talked a lot about the movement last week simply because a lot of the movement seemed funny in the desert, especially in that costume. You know, there is a big parallel here in the Star Wars universe for those of us who grew up without the prequels, so to speak. We heard James Earl Jones's voice for Darth Vader, and then Darth Vader takes his helmet off, and all of a sudden, hashtag whitewashing. That helped the surprise that he was his father, because you're like, James Earl Jones is his father? That would be challenging.
You never know. It's a galaxy far, far away.
I would say I'm surprised that she said that. Because
that she revealed it, Bryce Dallas Howard?
Yes, I'm surprised that Bryce Dallas Howard revealed it. I think it will make a difference to some people because you want to be picturing him. You don't want to think about somebody else. But I think people don't ever want to think about that. Once again, I'll refer to a horrible movie I was in.
Oh, you? No.
Where you could tell that it was Val Kilmer's stunt double. You know, basically in movies they shoot a master shot and then they'll go over the shoulder for one person and then over the shoulder for the other person for close-ups. Mm-hmm. Right. And basically whenever I'm speaking on screen and I'm not in a master shot, I'm delivering those lines to Val Kilmer's stand-in because he was too busy to do anything like that.
Define busy.
I mean, in his trailer, doing whatever the hell he wanted to do.
Now, Catfish, this is 2 weeks in a row that you have used our podcast to promote this movie Conspiracy, which is available on DVD.
It's a really horrible
I don't think Blu-ray.
Movie. I don't suggest anyone ever see it. I just bring that up because, when I remember watching that movie, there was one shot where literally in a 40-second period, I was like, I could see, okay, there's a stand-in. Okay, and there's somebody who's completely different, who's his double, there he is. It went from him to his stand-in to his double back to him.
Well, since you've done that, I feel like I need to promote the DVD release of Cutthroat.
You please do.
The horror film written by yours truly, Bubba. It's a horror film which puts the horrible in horror.
There we go.
My script was pretty good, I thought. That film that is available on video. You could have seen it late night HBO's not too good. Listeners, we've talked about it a bit. We always want to hear from you. Does it matter to you? Are you upset that we just revealed that maybe you hadn't heard that Pedro Pascal isn't always in the suit?
Don't blame us. Blame Bryce Dallas Howard. She's the one with the big mouth.
You know, yeah. Write to us at DoublePHQ on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/DoublePHQ. That's the word double, the single letter P, the letters HQ for headquarters. Let us know how you think, and we'll read your feedback in the next podcast we do, which is coming up real early because, Catfish, they're releasing the next episode of The Mandalorian this coming Wednesday. Why? Because a week from now, listeners, you most likely will have seen the last Star Wars film in the Skywalker saga, The Rise of Skywalker. This is kind of weird. We're talking about this TV show, but we're all going to go see a movie this weekend too.
Well, not all of us. You've got some relatives who won't go see it, but I think that's going to be the only person who's not going to go see it.
Well, Catfish, I thought I know a little bit too much to try this, but I thought we should always set ourselves up to be ridiculed. So here, let's have some predictions. What you think is going to happen in The Rise of Skywalker. So we knew going into Return of the Jedi, we knew that Luke had to save Han, like the team had to save Han somehow, or at least try to save Han. We knew that Luke had to confront Vader, and way back then, listeners, it may be hard to believe, we needed proof or confirmation that Vader wasn't lying and he was actually Luke's father. So we knew those things kind of going in. Back when Revenge of the Sith came out, the third movie in that trilogy, we knew Anakin had to become Darth Vader. This was it. We knew that the twins had to be born, so we kind of knew things that were going to happen. I have to be honest, and I'm very excited for the movie I'll be seeing Thursday night. But for The Rise of Skywalker, there aren't definite story beats like that. I don't think. Is it bad? Is it good? Listeners, write to us and let us know. But Catfish, because I believe you're unspoiled, what is going to happen in The Rise of Skywalker?
Well, I think for sure these have been, in some ways, have felt like three separate things. I mean, it's continuing the quote-unquote Skywalker saga, but it really feels like there's been some portions. I mean, there's sort of, for each trilogy, there's new, like, you know, the essential lead characters, kind of. And so I think they're going to try to pay off some of the things from even the prequels at the end. So as a result of that, I'm calling it now.
Let's hear it.
Jojo Binks, Jar Jar Binks' grandson, will show up at the end of the movie and say, Misa enjoyed that story.
That would be perfect. Is that why we got a Gungan reference in this episode of The Mandalorian? I don't know.
Yeah.
Jojo, you're the spitting image, and literally, because when you stick out your tongue, you spit so much, image of your grandfather, Jar Jar.
Yeah, except without his problematic accent.
Well, so he spent too much time with the Naboo up on the mainland, and so they lose that accent.
Yeah. Well, it's more like the tilt, the patois. You know.
Yeah.
He's more gentrified now. He's like, Misa enjoyed. Oh no, I think I could get in trouble there too. No,
edit.
Misa think good story. That's it. That's what he came down to. That's how it's like it pays everything forward and sort of wipes everything clean.
Double L loyal listeners, please write to us on social media at DoublePHQ on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/DoublePHQ with the hashtag Catfish's prediction was right or Catfish was wrong.
I don't know whether we need to give our listeners any more ammunition to mock us, but I'm always happy to give them more.
Now, Catfish, we are coming up to the end of the year, so listeners, let me do a little housekeeping, little in-house promo for us. We're part of Double P Media. We've been doing this for so long, and I think 5 years, so not that long, but we've been doing this for 5 years. We've done a bunch of podcasts in 2019, not just this Mandalorian Parsec Passion podcast. Currently, as this one is going on, we're doing a podcast about a very not as widely seen show, but a fun show called Dublin Murders that's now airing here in the States based on the great books by Tana French. So you can search Double P Podcast and listen to that. We've also got our good buddies Double M.
Double M?
Matt Murdock and Holly, they're doing The Dust, a podcast about his Dark Materials, the series that's currently running on BBC and HBO. Sorry, yeah.
I can't believe that Matt gets the double M and Holly doesn't get the double H.
Double H?
Yeah, Holly Hunt Pants.
Oh, yeah. Earlier in 2019, we covered the final season of Game of Thrones on our The Joffrey podcast. We covered The Rook, a TV show, The Rook, with our Miffy's Epiphany podcast. We went deep into Netflix's Dark with our Wind and Caves podcast. We had a special podcast talking about the Deadwood movie and the Good Omens premiere. And we had one podcast reviewing Netflix's The Last Kingdom Season 3. Holy smokes. What a busy year. If you're looking at TV shows to watch over this holiday break, of those, which ones would you recommend? Certainly you guys have probably all seen Game of Thrones. I really think Dark. I love Dark on Netflix. Catfish, you are a huge fan of the Deadwood movie. And did you finish up Good Omens?
I loved Good Omens. I loved Good Omens. It's been a great year for fantasy, sci-fi on television. Two shows we did not do, one of which I think we can agree is, I've been touting it forever, is The Boys.
On Amazon. It's great. It's
Amazon.
Fun. Adult, but very good.
Yes, very good. Very funny. And as I've said, I love the comic books. It's not as filthy as the comic books, but it's far filthier than I thought a show on Amazon would be. Mm-hmm. It also advances the story past and does a better job, I think, with the story than the comics did, because I think they were mostly just trying to I'll use a British term here since it was written by a Brit. They're trying to take the piss out of superheroes.
It does a good job.
And then something I'm enjoying, and a lot of people are enjoying, that has left you completely cold, is the Watchmen TV series. So it has been a great, and The Expanse is coming back on Netflix.
The Expanse is coming back, baby.
So I mean, it is good to be a nerd these days. Oh, and The Witcher is starting. Oh, I'm so excited about The Witcher.
Yeah, I think I'll check that one out too. Our buddy W. Axel Foley, I'm pretty sure, is going to be covering that show, The Expanse, season 2 of The Expanse. I actually thought season 1 of The Expanse had trouble, but season 2 of The Expanse is one of the best seasons of a TV show ever. We're saying this, listeners, because on our Facebook page, as we'll do our now annual tradition of ranking our top shows of 2019. It's going to be hard to put my top 10 shows of 2019 out there when we haven't even had a chance to see The Expanse, but we'll be doing that soon, and we also want to hear from you.
Yes, absolutely. Let us know how we're wrong. Unlike Patman 23, who says his list is subjective, and so it can't be wrong, and he's not going to criticize anybody else's. I'm happy for someone to tell me I'm wrong, and also to tell them they're wrong. So at least Patman and I can agree on one thing, that it's equal opportunity.
Yes, we are definitely wrong. We love it when you tell us we're wrong.
Even though we disagree, Patman and I, on whether people can disagree with us, we agree that however we feel, would let other people feel the same way.
No, I don't agree with that. No,
we agree in our disagreement.
A couple more things before we dive into this episode, Catfish. I got to be honest, I went to a Star Wars trivia contest last night with some friends at a local bar, and my team came in third.
Third? How did this happen?
There were like 20 teams. I'm going to tell you how it happened, that we missed 4 questions all night long. 4 questions all night long, and a couple of them we missed because other people on my team talked me out of my brilliant Bubba wisdom. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read the 4 questions I got wrong, and I'll let you, our Double L loyal listeners, think about those questions, and then I'll tell you the answers at the very end of the podcast. So the 4 questions we got wrong out of 48. This was 48 pub trivia night, and we only got 4 wrong, but that put us in third place. The first question we got wrong. 10 characters have been mentioned by name in an opening crawl in a Star Wars movie. So not, like referring to Jedi Knights, but characters' actual names appeared in the opening crawls. Name the 10. We only got 8 of the 10. The second question that we got wrong was, what Central American country was used as the filming location of the Rebel base on Yavin 4 in Star Wars A New Hope? We got that one wrong. In The Last Jedi, what does Rey ask for in the cave? we had the right answer, and then other people at the table said, oh, I think it's this, and so we crossed out the wrong right answer. And then the final one we got wrong in The Last Jedi. How does Force Ghost Yoda first refer to Luke Skywalker? So the first time he refers to Luke, he refers to him as this phrase or term. What is it? So we got those 4 wrong. We will tell you the answers at the end of this podcast.
All right, excellent. I love it. People have time while they're listening to the podcast to think rather than listen to what we're about to say. So let's get to it and say it. Let's get cracking here.
All right, we're also going to read some of the 5 podcast reviews we got at the end of the episode, but let's just get into it, Catfish.
Let's do it.
Mando needs credits. Dollar credits, y'all. He needs Imperial credits, anything. He needs some way to make money as he's on the run from all these people trying to kill him. So he hooks up with an old buddy of his named Ran, and they want Mando, but specifically even more than Mando, they want his ship. And they keep saying, Rand and Mando keep talking about, man, we did so many jobs a long time ago. That was a long time ago. And I'm thinking to myself, how old is the Mandalorian? a long time ago.
The Mandalorian doesn't look that old, does he? He's going to take his helmet off. He's going to be older than Luke's father.
What if he took his helmet off and he looked like Rand's twin? You'd be like, oh, put it back on.
Oh, man. That would be amazing. One of my favorite things is all the talk about the good days. I don't know, did the good old days involve the Mandalorian going off and doing work and Razar just hanging out at home?
That's the way it is nowadays, kids.
Kids, yeah, remember the good old days? I don't do that anymore, but I want you to.
So I was trying to figure out how old is the Mando. So by my own calculations, which may be wrong, this scene is taking place 29 years after Revenge of the Sith. Why is that important? We saw the Mando as a child when his village was shot up by those super battle droids, which we believe all got decommissioned because the Emperor said they needed to get decommissioned at the end of Revenge of the Sith. So how old do you think Mando was in those scenes when he's a little kid and his parents get shot? Catfish.
No, 5, 6.
Okay, so he's maybe 35. All right. Long time ago, 35 years ago, when I did those jobs with Ran.
Now, here's a quick question, though. How old is Pedro Pascal?
Oh, I think I'm going to take a wild guess. I'll look it up and put the answer at the end with all our other trivia. Okay. I think he's like 45 or 46. What do you think?
Oh, well, I cheated because I looked it up as I was asking you the question.
Oh, okay.
I'll say he's 44 years old. So you did a great job with it. But the real question is then, if he's 44, how old is the actor who's been in everything? The guy playing Ranzar here. How old is he? I mean, because he looks to be about 60, but I think he's the kind of actor that has looked about 60 for about 20 years, or maybe not 60 but 50.
Yeah, he's looked that way for a long time. Admittedly, I remember him best from being the crooked cop in Batman Begins.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I get he must be happy that Tom Waits doesn't work that much, because he gives me the real Tom Waits kind of feel. Now he is, how old do you want to guess he is?
Boy, this is a trivia episode of the Mandalorian Parsec Passion podcast. Sure, 62.
Oh, so you were a little high for Pedro Pascal, but a little low for Mark Boone Jr., 64. Nonetheless, I feel like you might be able to work at a fair. Forget guessing the weight, you can guess the age.
I'm gonna have to work on my guessing weight because I'm getting pretty good at this. Guess the age.
It is funny, though, as you say, it's odd. It would be even odder, I think, if he said, back in the old days, and we could see Pedro Pascal, and you'd be like, I mean, it feels like it would have been a little bit of an elder-younger kind of relationship, but that's not the way Mark Boone Jr., a.k.a. Ranzar, kind of pitches it.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah. Huh. Now, Catfish, let's talk about the team. There's Mayfeld, the comedian Bill Burr with the shoulder holster, with a couple of shoulder holsters, dressed a bit like and bald like our buddy John McClane, who also liked to do stuff around Christmas. We have the Berg, I've already mentioned him, the big muscle. We've got our driver, the droid Zero, and we've got Jian, a twi'lek lady who loves knives. What did you think of this team? Any ones that stood out to you?
I was, first of all, we know Zia. She was Osha in
Right.
Game of Thrones. She was in the Harry Potter movies.
As
She's
Tonks,
been in-
yeah.
She's been in lots of things. I will have to say, I don't know, were you distracted by all her tongue work? I thought it was a little much. I know you're a fan of eye work, but I don't know if you're a fan of tongue work. There was a lot of tongue in her performance.
You got to give it your all.
I mean, it felt like she was giving it three people's all.
If you could see those actors underneath Mando's helmet and see the amount of work they're doing with their tongues.
I mean, my God.
Okay, so that's her. Did you like Bill Burr? And you certainly must have loved this Hoth cold diss of, hey, he's a former Imperial sharpshooter. Mando, that's not saying much. I wasn't a stormtrooper, asswife.
That was a good bit. I liked him. I liked the Clancy Brown. I just felt like, this isn't just like, when you kind of get a crew together here, they're sort of ragtag. This isn't just ragtag. They're basically all holding signs, I'm not trustworthy, run away as soon as possible.
Yes, but that's what made it fun. Toro, my boy. Once again, let me do my Toro. Hey, it's me, Toro Calican. Oh, wait, that's not even New York enough. I got to get some New York Jersey in there for Toro. But anyway, he wasn't trustworthy. You could tell he wasn't trustworthy, but he just annoyed me. These were colorful characters I kind of liked, and so I don't care that the writing was on the wall and they were carrying signs about, we're going to betray you. I liked it. It was fun. I liked all of them. Because of that, it wasn't very believable, but because of that, when I found out they had all survived at the end, I thought, oh, good. They can come get beat by Mando again in season 2 or season 3. I love it.
You know what I realized as I was watching it? I made one note about these guys. This was before they even got off the ship. There was that tense moment. They see that Twoda gets revealed. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting. I think Mando finally does a good job here. He has to play it cool about Twoda, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's just not to play it up. Of course, he doesn't want to, make them any tickle in their minds like this is important. But I wrote down, these people are dicks. And then after a little bit, I was like, even the robot is a dick.
Oh, yeah. And that was voiced by that hilarious comedian who did the IT Crowd, that British show. So, yeah, it was famous people everywhere you looked.
Yeah, they were all dicks. I was tense. I was afraid for Twoda. I was like, hands off, you dicks. Hands off Twoda.
They dropped Twoda. Admittedly, they were coming out of hyperspace and doing some crazy maneuvers. But, yeah, Twoda, the puppet, just seemed to bounce on the floor.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, luckily, he's a plush and not a figurine.
So which were your favorite of their disses? Did you like Zira mocking, this is the way? Did you like that? Did you like when it was the classic, hey, why is he here? Well, they say the Mandalorians are the best fighters in the galaxy. Oh, yeah? If so, why are they all dead? Oh, snap! This is drop the comm link at the Apollo.
I would just say this. Now, again, with my less than encyclopedic knowledge of Star Wars, Zia. Is it Zia or Zira?
Xian. So, to be honest, all the characters kind of pronounced it differently.
Okay. So, my question is this. We've seen these kind of characters before, but I don't remember them being as crazy butt over the top as she is. And then they give her a little help at the end by making her brother also outrageous, but I don't remember this species being wild card crazy species. So I thought it was a little too much.
The only one we've seen is Bib Fortuna, who, because he was Jabba the Hutt's major domo, his right-hand man and his toady, he couldn't go off the handle. He had to behave, as Jabba said.
So are we retconning that this species are crazy wild people?
I'm willing to go there. I mean, these are the family of the twi'lek pleasure baths. What were they? Were the recovery baths? I forget that Grief was pitching to Mando a couple episodes ago.
All right, well, let's take it then. That's not my favorite, but anyway.
They even diss Gungans. Did that cheer you up? That it's, maybe he's a Gungan. Is this why so you don't want to show your face? Oh, snap. Wexley.
Oh, yeah. Why not? Sure. Get everybody in on this.
Okay, so they break into the prison ship, to the ship transporting prisoners, seemingly only run by droids. Very interesting. The New Republic doesn't want any sentient life form guarding these prisoners, or do they?
I thought to myself afterwards, especially when improbably the rest of the crew was imprisoned there by the Mandalorian, who had plenty of time to make sure they weren't dead. There must be a crazy amount of food storage on this prison ship because they've got all different kinds of species with different food needs. Now, of course, you have to do this, but it's improbable that all these species would be like, yep, this is exactly the kind of mix of oxygen and nitrogen that I like. But, I'm not going to belabor that.
Oh, come on. Keep belabored.
Consider belabored.
So the prisoners we saw a monkey-like alien, the four-armed alien that we saw Rio was from Solo. And that species is known as an Ardenian. And, of course, Rio in the Solo movie was voiced by Jon Favreau, the executive producer of this show. It all comes together. We saw an Imperial officer still in his Imperial officer uniform. That's interesting. You didn't want to put him in prison scrubs or anything. And later we saw Chunk from Goonies.
Nice. Now, we're going to talk later about some feedback we got. One thing that happened here was people were giving me a hard time for saying that the Mandalorian wasn't a badass when he's continually needed to get help from other people and otherwise has had his ass kicked. So that's my sort of response to those people who were critical of me. But I will say in this episode, he does show some badassness because he's basically has to take all these people down. They come across some robots, and this was also a nice dick move that I thought you would appreciate when he's tangling with all the robots and they're about to help him. And Bill Burr's like, no, let him handle it. That's what he's here for. That was nice. There was a double cross right there, I felt like. I was like, what are the rest of them here for? A little help, guys?
Yeah, but it also shows our hero, Mando, he has to tackle improbable odds. He has to defeat something impressive so that we're impressed with him. We see those droids, those guard droids come around the corner. Our three goons hide, but Mando is proactive. He sneaks up behind the droids, takes them all out, all by himself. Really, really fun, and that action set piece to me was better than any action set piece in last week's episode. I know some people love last week's episode. It's tough to listen to a podcast where somebody attacks something you love, so I'll try to let Toro and the rest go from last week. I thought this was fun, and this really let me know, okay, this is a side quest. It's not moving the central story forward, but it is going to be fun.
Also, anybody who was critical, they're like, oh, the Mando is a badass all the time. They can know that I was right because the producers also realized that I was right and said, no, we finally have to have him be a badass. This isn't more proof that he's a badass. This is the first proof that he's a badass.
Oh, he was a badass in the first episode. He was pretty badass in that first episode.
All right, sure.
He's been badass. Give him some ass, Catfish.
All right, he can have ass.
I love the little mouse droid. I've always loved the mouse droids. This one meets a sad fate as Berg shoots it and blows it up. But very, very fun. They head to the cockpit. Hey, there's a human there. Insider, the human Davan, is played by the actor who does the voice of Anakin in the Clone Wars. So fun. They got this voice actor some work on camera. Love it. And there is a crazy standoff we've seen probably a couple times in this show already. Everybody pointing their guns at different people. And it ends up with a death. The twi'lek throws one of her evil blades and takes down poor Davan. And of course, as he falls, what happens? He sets off the infamous beacon, which is going to really be trouble for our villains.
Yeah, watch it. We got people in the neighborhood. Doesn't seem like it, but there are people in the neighborhood.
It's a bit like L.A. They're 20 minutes away. Everybody's 20 minutes away.
it's interesting because it sort of sets up a ticking clock,
Mm-hmm.
and yet, for some reason, I didn't really feel the sense of urgency. Did you, Bubba?
Well, when the ticking clock is longer than some of the episodes, I'm kidding. It would be like at the beginning of the episode, oh my goodness, they're 40 minutes away. Oh, well, we'll find.
It doesn't really seem possible that all that could have been done and then they're out. But, okay, fine.
But that said, that ticking clock was just another stress point, which made it so good. How did the episode end in a very strong way for me? Well, you had the ticking clock. Okay, we got to get out of here. Even if that clock runs on funny space time, it's ticking. You have Mando, who has been thrown into the jail. He's got to get out of the jail. He's got to take down all of these people. Plus, on the ship, you've got the droid Zero now stalking Baby Yoda. You've got all these things going. I loved how they all piled up on one another. I haven't always talked about the score, but I thought the score really set the tenseness between all these things happening. I loved it.
Yeah, it was fun. Again, I mean, the ticking clock was there in the background, but there was no real sense of maybe it was because of the casualness of the other characters too. They're like, all right, well, let's split up and let's find the Mando. It wasn't like, we got to do this now.
Just leave.
I mean, get
as
out.
soon as they threw the Mando in the cell, they should have said, okay, people, let's run.
Yeah, it was a little bit crazy.
Now, I knew, once again, predictability versus shocks. As we've kept saying, I knew they were going to betray him, but it's when they betray him that adds the twist. So they get this character out, they get him out of jail. Hey, sis, hey, brother, how you doing? And then they throw the Mando in. The Mando shoots, and I just have to mention this point. I love it so much. He shoots at them after they throw him in the cell, and his blaster bolt ricochets around the cell, which, of course, it would. You would have these cell blocks be blaster proof. I loved it. And then I loved, once again, you're showing our heroes' ingenuity. I am locked in a cell. If they were smart villains, they could run straight to my ship, be off, and I'd be totally screwed. But they aren't smart, so they show him using his creativity to break out of the cell by getting that one droid's arm off. I loved it. This is the thing the show always needs to do if they're going to do these side quests.
Yeah, there was a lot of fun, even though they was contained in one area, because we had all the different kind of people and Tongue Lady.
So, another smart move, which I didn't realize how smart it was until hindsight. Once the Mando gets out of the prison, he doesn't run towards the ship. He runs back to the control room. He runs back to the cockpit and starts locking them in. Brilliant. Love it. Because there are 3 villains that he has to take out, we see him defeat 3 villains in 3 different ways, okay?
Right.
The big burly guy I am going to have to get in a burly fight with. Loved it. And I really did love those blast doors. I laughed when that second one came in. I was just tickled.
I love that the fire didn't work, not knowing anything. I mean, after the fact, looking at the character, you'd say, well, yeah, I guess fire doesn't mean anything to him. But, to have the fire have worked, threatened, and also done damage, and then now this time it's just a joke, was good. But I wonder if, like what I said before, I wondered the little flying birds. When he used them that one time, is that it? Did they not come back? Because it seemed to me like he could have used those again.
Oh, I thought he tried to use them on Big Berg, and they didn't work. Something fired off that while he was fighting the big burly guy. And then let's get to it. I don't have much to say about when he took down Jien's, when she was throwing knives at him, and she got so close and he could still kind of get a knife under her chin. But I loved the shot. It's like a horror movie shot. The lights are strobing, and you see Mayfeld, and behind him is the Mando. And with every flash of light, he's either there getting closer or he's gone. I loved it. Hell yeah.
Fun, but once again, okay, no death. Weird.
Catfish, your desire for blood. What about Davan? He got killed.
Yeah, why? But he was the nicest guy. Why? I mean, why he got killed? That's a heck of a lesson this show's teaching.
You got to teach lessons in this.
Okay.
Mando is there with Kin. While this is happening, I keep mentioning Zero the droid has unlocked Mando's email and seen Grief's message. He is now hunting baby Twoda. This is crazy.
Oh, horrible. So stressful.
And Quinn says, You killed all the others. And so that's what we assume, too. And the Mando just says they got what they deserved. Ooh, wordplay, Mando. He's like, I told the truth in a court of law. I just said they got what they deserved. I didn't say I killed them. We don't know what's going to happen with him and this Quinn person. And then in the ship, Baby Yoda has been doing pretty well. He's had some great moments where he's there, and then like the strobing light effect, he disappears. But now the droid Zero has Baby Twoda dead to rights. And he's reaching out with the Force. Oh my goodness, he's going to save himself. I talked about this last week.
And it is an awesome, like I said, the Force fake out. It is so good. It's funny, it reminded me of something. You never know when they're making callbacks or whether I'm just interpreting things. But it reminded me of that great Star Wars commercial from years ago. The kid in the Darth Vader suit. Mm-hmm. And he goes out to the car, and the whole thing was about how you could turn the car on from outside, from somewhere else. So he goes and he like, to the car, and the car turns on, and he gets so excited. So this is a nice fake out because we're like, yep, Twoda, he's got it all going on. But no, he still needs to be saved by the Mandalorian. And then I could not believe I thought the Mandalorian was being a sucker. That like he would actually save this guy who just lost. It feels like the Mandalorian just killed his sister. He was so excited to see her, and then he's so cold. He's like, don't worry, you'll still get paid. I thought, no, Mando, no, don't buy that.
But Mando needs those credit bills, y'all. He needs them. Catfish.
He doesn't need him to fix his uniform because we see it close near the end. And I'm telling you, that Beskar, it does not scratch. It does not discolor. You can do whatever you want to it, and it still just remains completely clean.
I tell you, I need my bumpers made out of Beskar. Protect my Prius. So talk about, a lot of people, you say acting crazily. Mando goes back. There's Ran. Ran pays Mando the credits, even though later he's going to kill him. Why not kill him before you give him whatever credits you were going to give him? What? Huh?
Yeah, I know. Why not kill him right when he's in there? I guess, they're afraid they don't, because they finally heard that he's finally a badass. So they don't want to fight him hand to hand, and it's easier just to demolish his ship. So, I mean, I think that makes sense, but you're right. On the other hand, it's like, Rance could have used those credits.
I know. Hey, come on. You could plan a great funeral for the 3 you thought were dead with those credits. Now, Mando, we've talked about it already. Mando has pulled the old ultimate switcheroo. He's placed the tracking beacon on this prisoner. He flies away. He got paid, and these guys get screwed. 3 X-Wings come out of hyperspace, and who are they piloted by? That's right. They're piloted by Rick Famuyiwa, Dave Filoni, and Deborah Chow, a.k.a. 3 of the directors of this season of The Mandalorian. I love it.
Oh, man.
These 3 X-Wing pilots, they've got a pretty wide berth. Like, this is a giant kind of spaceport here floating, and they're like, yeah, just shoot it. Like, oh, hey, there's a gunner ship coming out. Blow it up. What if that was an innocent person in the gunner ship? The tracking fob doesn't mean everybody. Good grief.
Hey, listen, it's tough.
They are carpet bombing this place. What if, once again, you talk about the Death Star janitors and those people. What about the people on this ship? Hey, I was just doing a job.
Well, you know what? You see, that's what I approve of. That's what I approve of. Indiscriminate, wild killing. I'm all in.
So you like the New Republic.
Yeah, the New Republic, I'm all in.
That's it, Catfish. I was 8 out of 10. What were you again?
8 out of 10. We were right there together.
We only have 2 left. Let's keep it on this high street, and let's get even higher. Let's get back up to these crazy 9s and 10s we were given those first couple episodes.
All right, I'm not in charge of that.
We aren't in charge of anything. You're in charge of us listeners by giving us great iTunes reviews, and we got to read them right now, these 5 new iTunes reviews, Catfish.
Let's do it.
One of my favorite reviews we've ever received on any of our podcasts is right here at the top. It's from the United States Apple Podcast Store. It's from JTH, 5 stars. The review of the many Mandalorian podcasts. This is one of them.
Yes. That is absolutely true. Although, according to iTunes, that may not be true. This is actually a Mandalorian podcast. We're still up there if you search for Parsec. So,
We're trying.
yeah. This is the next one, which is great. It says, Double M Maladroit Mandalorian 5 stars.
Love it.
These guys give a great Manda job. Oh,
Give a great
yes, I
man
love that.
job. Hello,
Man
adult
job, yes.
content.
Look no further for your Mandalorian reach arounds. Bubba and Catfish are back at it again with their double Qs.
Double Qs?
Like quantum quips.
Oh.
Breaking down Disney's new Star Wars series, The Mandalorian. The podcast is very entertaining. The hosts are clearly well-versed in the lore of the Star Wars universe, allowing the discourse to go beyond the surface, scratching episode summaries. I find myself nodding to the critical digs and appreciating episodes more, listening to their contagious enthusiasm for what's awesome about the show. I smell a spin-off podcast, Story Time with...
Werner Herzog.
Yes, reads of classic literature in the voice of the client. You know, I think even better than classic literature would be like Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All right, the next one, Bubba?
It's from Ziegler's W, and it is a 5-star review. Thank you so much. And the title of the review is Triple H E Double P HQ.
What is that?
Helmet Horny Host MC Passionate Parsec HQ.
Wow.
The web's most detailed and fastest rise of Skywalker coverage after December 19th. Well, we hope. Deeply felt Werner performance anchors new chapters in the storied franchise universe. Giancarlo Esposito reprises his role as ice-cold villain mastermind. Embattled hero, all business, versus the world. One beautiful woman who could understand him, if only he could remove the mask. Better Call Saul, season 5. Wait. I mean The Mandalorian.
Oh, nice. And the next one is from someone we all know and love, Shakes of Thrones. She said the best Mando podcast, 5 stars.
Oh, thank you so much.
To reinforce that is the best one, she says, to be fair, I haven't listened to any other Mando podcasts.
That's the right move.
But like a good double L, loyal listener, I follow Bubba and Catfish across galaxies for their entertaining and insightful takes and the humorous banter. It helps make the short Mando episodes last just a bit longer. Thanks, guys. Not just a bit, but okay, we like that. Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much, Shakes. We love her. Follow her at Shakes of Thrones on Twitter. Finally, in the United Kingdom, the UK iTunes store, we got one from a long-time loyal listener. I guess that's a triple L, Dooley's Left Leg, 5 stars. Read this one, Catfish.
A wonderful podcast this is.
Ooh.
Bubba and Catfish continue to expand their excellent range of podcasts with a fantastic and usually hilarious review show about the Disney Plus show The Mandalorian.
Usually.
Like the other UK reviewer, I'm also using the Force to watch the show as Darth Disney has tried using his evil ways to delay the stories of Baby Yoda reaching our part of the galaxy. Oh, that's horrible for them to already be spoiled about Baby Yoda.
Aw.
Thankfully, I'm all caught up without spending too many Imperial credits and was able to binge the first few podcasts. Always faithful to their double L's. The guys do not disappoint and make the cast a very enjoyable, informative, and easy listen. If you haven't heard their other stuff that's out there on Double P Media, then please give this a listen. Disappointed? You shall not be.
For giving us these wonderful reviews. Your name is going to end up in our prize bowl, which we'll pick a lucky winner from at the end of this season in just 2 short weeks to give a baby Twota prize to. So exciting. Thank you so much. We really do need these reviews to stay visible in this competitive world of bounty hunters / podcasts.
Excellent. Now, would you like to discuss? We had some other feedback.
Yeah, so let's get to this feedback, Catfish. Last week we asked everybody, we said, hey, how and when do you watch The Mandalorian? This isn't a set time. It seems to be appointment viewing, but it's a different set time for everybody. We talked about how we watched it. We want to know how you watched it. So we got this great first bit of feedback from Double H.
Double H?
Holly Hunt Pants, who says,
now she gets a double H.
I'm off on Fridays, so I wake up around 7, make coffee, take my dog outside, come back in to pour my coffee, feed my dog, and then watch the episode in my jammies. Hell yeah. Then usually on Saturdays or Sundays, rewatch with my pops. And not that it matters, but my tweet about Toro being good looking was more about the resemblance of the actor to his father, not his attractiveness, which was sure good looking. But I was wondering the whole time where I recognized him before I realized who he was related to. Hashtag Boardwalk Rules. Oh man, what a great! She covered everything. Great work, Double H.
The whole thing. It's all in there.
Okay, next up.
Amy, at Amy Home Alone, says, usually watch on Saturday. Didn't like this episode. $100 million didn't buy good guest star actors?
Oh, she's talking about my boy Toro.
Oh, okay. I thought she was talking about Amy Sedaris. I was like, oh, man, that's cold. Seemed insane to me they couldn't find people more compelling to be involved even in one episode of this. 2 episodes in a row of subpar acting is distracting and cringy. For the record, I'm pro Paul. Wow, okay, we got a pro Paul.
We love it. Someone who's known as Matt Murdock, Musical
Matt Murdock.
Concepts on Twitter, said, I watch The Mandalorian as soon as I'm able to, but I take issue with your side story dislike. If you want TWOTA forever, then you better like the fact that TWOTA gets to see as many planets as possible. Oh, good point, Matt.
TWOTA's on a twip. All right, and then we have David Gobert, who said, I usually watch the show after I get off work Friday morning. It's a nice thing to look forward to. And then, sadly, he says, I disagree with Catfish. This show is better in small bites. After an episode is over, I'm kind of done. It's not like Lost or Breaking Bad where I feel like I have to keep watching. This whole show feels like an RPG with the players ignoring the main quest and only concentrating on the side jobs, which I think is a brilliant description of it. Brilliant.
That's not what I prefer. I like ongoing stories and kind of forward momentum of plots. But if you're going to do a bunch of side quests, RPG, lifestyle, keep making them fun like this. That's what I say.
Well,
so thank you guys so much. That was on Twitter and Facebook. We got some more feedback on Facebook from, and I hope I pronounce this right. How would you pronounce this first name here of Joe Ramsey, Catfish?
Elias Joe Ramsey, unless it's Elias.
They wrote, finally found a podcast that's not just blind appraisal of this show. There is a lot, and he had a lot of O's in this lot, of problems. And it's great that you guys discuss them. Oh, well, thank you so much. Watch him listen this week and be like, oh, these guys just like everything. We're just trying to be honest. Who cares about our opinion? We want to hear everybody's opinion, including yours, listeners.
Yes, exactly. And then we have Patrick Obi-Wan Spanagle at Patman23 says, both of you guys were extra crabby about last week's Mandalorian. This is not me chastising you. I appreciate that how you feel about the show is honest. But since Bubba asked people to chime in, I'm chiming in that I enjoyed it a great deal. You guys only CJG Man 67 and no else way undervalues Mando's badassness.
Freeze there, Catfish.
Mm-hmm.
When you read the line of Pat Man's message where he said, you guys, only CJG Man and no one else, I actually rewrote that.
Oh, you.
Yeah, I think he said, mainly CJG
right.
Man.
That's all right. That's fine. I can take it. But, Patman, he's usually on my side. But, now, I don't know. I think we may stop being, someone gave a review earlier this year, and I was like, did the Step Brothers, did we just become best friends? I'm afraid Patman and I might be on a break now. He says,
it's Patman and you are like Mando and Grief. Best buddies, but now in trouble. Now fighting each other.
Yeah, we got some rocky times. We'll get through it, I'm sure. But he says he killed 20 guys who were guarding TWOTA in the premiere. He blew up an AT-ST in episode 4 via grenade. If he was as ridiculous as Catfish would have us believe, Mando would have blown himself up by misadventure trying to drop in the grenade. I didn't say that it was Three Stooges. I was just saying he need like Harry Potter. He always seems to need help. And he said at least Mando was consistent in his views on childcare.
And then he does, if anybody knows Pat Man from his great coverage of Game of Thrones on the website Watchers on the Wall, one thing Pat Man always does that's so great is he writes little dialogue scenes between characters. So Catfish, let's you and I do this. I'll play the character Mando, and Mando says, here's the kid.
Oh, okay. It's so cute.
Make sure he stays that way, or I'll kill you, Rando.
Oh, man.
He has Mando and Rando. I love it so much because he does leave Baby Yoda with kind of everybody, or in today, I'll just leave him in the closet. Great parenting from Mando.
Oh, man.
So, Catfish, let's get to our little segments, the little things we like and dislike. And why don't you start us off with your Mandalicious line of the episode?
I mean, you mentioned it. First of all, you went through all the Mandalicious lines. So why don't you just go through them again, and then I'll tell you which one is my best one.
Okay, so the first one, and it happens to be my best, Rand says, former Imperial sharpshooter. Mando, that's not saying much. Mayfeld, hey, I wasn't a stormtrooper, wise ass.
All right, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a pretty good one. Okay, well, how about this? Mayfeld later says, when talking about the Mando removing his helmet, Maybe he's a Gungan. Is that why so you don't want to show your face? Oh, hot cold.
Man. Oh, man.
We didn't mention this one, but Mayfeld just keeps dropping them. After Mando saves his behind by taking out all those prison guard droids, he says, make sure you clean up your mess. He saved your ass, and now you're going to make him clean up the mess.
Yeah.
Oh, Mayfeld, you and your quips. He also is later, he's quip full of everything. He's like, hey, you questioning my managerial style? Mayfeld, trying to get that opening act for comedian Bill Burr on his Netflix special.
I love it. I'm going to have to give it to The Mandalorian, even though you say it was Bill Burr giving all the good lines. I'm going to have to give it to The Mandalorian in that first exchange that you mentioned.
Well, when he says, that's not saying much. Oh,
yes, I love it. Smack him down.
All right.
What about you, Bubba?
Let me get to my grief's beef of the episode. Listeners, if you're new to this podcast, grief's beefs are where we say that something we disliked about the episode or somebody who upset Carl Weathers. And I was very upset that Carl Weathers was barely in this episode. Grief, to me, it should be not a buddy comedy with just, it should be we've got Twoda. I want Twuddy comedy of three people. Or I don't even know what I'm saying. I just want more Carl Weathers. Going through his email is not cool, Droid Zero.
No.
Not doing it. Get a better password, Mando.
My grief beef is the triple T.
Triple T?
Yeah, the outrageous, over-the-top tongue Zia.
Man, you're never going to let that down. So what if we had that Twi'lek and Toro Calican in one episode? What would you do? Would you just cancel your subscription?
I mean, I presume that if Toro was around, he would just start making out with her because he couldn't be able to resist.
No, he couldn't. All right, let's get to our good grief. So let's end on a positive note, Catfish.
Let's do it.
Good grief is where something we loved about the episode. It can be a big thing. It can be a small thing. It can be kind of a bigger picture thing, and or somebody who made Carl Weathers smile. So, Catfish, what is your good grief for this episode 6, The Prisoner?
My good grief is the force fake out by Yoda. It was so cute because it was just a nice turnaround. We know that the Mandalorian still needs to take care of Yoda, and Yoda, it's so funny. He looks like he's got a scrunch in his face, and it's super adorable when he does it.
My good grief of this episode is when Mando, without even being prompted by the child, spins the little ball off the hyperspace lever and gives it to his kid. My dad came home just the other day. He'd been on a prison ship not far away, and he gave me a silver ball that I still have. I'll grow up to be like you, Dad. I'm going to be a signet for you. And the Mando's in the cradle and the silver. All right, we better stop that.
All right.
Hey, Catfish, do you want to know the answers to those trivia questions, which I failed at so much?
Well, you didn't completely fail, but yes. Tell me the answers to those questions.
Okay, so 10 characters are mentioned by name in the opening crawl of a Star Wars movie. Let's go through them. Princess/General Leia. In A New Hope, The Force Awakens, and The Last Jedi. That's 3. That's pretty good. Luke Skywalker. Mentioned by name in the opening scroll for Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and Force Awakens. 3 for him, too. Darth Vader. Only mentioned once in an opening scroll. That's Empire Strikes Back. Han Solo only mentioned once in an opening scroll for Return of the Jedi. Jabba. Solo. Jabba the Hutt mentioned in Return of the Jedi's. Count Dooku. Get this. He's in 2 opening crawls. Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Senator Amidala is mentioned in Attack of the Clones. Chancellor Palpatine is mentioned in Revenge of the Sith. Only one for the future Emperor. General Grievous. Oh my goodness. Of all the people mentioned in opening crawl, General Grievous got mentioned in one, and that was Revenge of the Sith. And in The Last Jedi, we had Supreme Leader Snoke. There you go. So how did I miss it? I knew, and I was screaming at the people at my table. I said, I really think General Grievous is in an opening crawl. They said no. They wanted to put Qui-Gon Jinn, and I just kept saying, I really don't think Qui-Gon Jinn is in the opening crawl. So that was one of our mistakes. The other mistake of ours were we couldn't decide if it was Kylo or Snoke. We went with Kylo. Terrible mistake. No wonder we came in 3rd place.
All right, let's go. Let's motor through.
The other questions were, where was the filming location for A New Hope's Rebel Base, Yavin 4? What Central American country? Guatemala was the answer. Ooh, we missed that. I knew it wasn't Costa Rica, but that was one that they kept saying. So I went, well, I don't think it's Costa Rica, but I can't think of anything else.
Not Cabo, okay?
Right. So what did Rey, in The Last Jedi, Rey goes down into that cave filled with the dark side, and she asks for something. What does she ask for? We originally wrote the correct answer, which is her parents. She wanted to see her parents. But then we crossed it out and put the wrong answer. And the final one we got wrong was in The Last Jedi. Force Ghost Yoda comes back and sees Luke. And how does he refer to him the first time he sees him? How he refers to him is young Skywalker. Young Skywalker, we messed up. For some reason, the other people on my team wanted to put that he referred to him as, it's my favorite apprentice. And we're like, wait, what? Huh? What? So, third place. We apologize, listeners. Third place in the prize. Hopefully first in the podcast
Hopefully you
world.
can find someone who does a podcast who got first place. That's what you want.
For everybody here at Double P Media, my name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on Twitter.
And I am Catfish. You can hit me up at CJGman67. You can also hit us up at Double PHQ. Our intern is drinking coffee and checking that Twitter account 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
And we will talk to you earlier next week.
Yes.
On
All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Wow.
The end.
Also known as the Parsec Podcast.
Parsec Passion Podcast. All right, we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days.
Yay!